Alright, so this is my first video in a series of 3 videos that's going to cover the 3 major regions for Stage 2 of R6 Esports for the 2024 year. So for this first video, we are going to start with the European League. So first of all, these were my predictions before the stage started. So I feel like these are, for the most part, made a lot of sense just from before the stage. My only one I was iffy about is whether I should put Secret in second and ITB in third, making these predictions instead. But otherwise, I was very happy with these predictions at the time. So this is how the group stage went. Of course, BDS ended up winning the groups. Secret ended up getting second instead of ITB. And for the most part, there was the group stage was pretty predictable, except for 2 teams. Into the Breach had a pretty big fall off, one that I didn't expect them to drop off so badly, especially after playing quite well in stage 1 and also qualifying to the Esports World Cup in the summer. So this is a kind of an unexpected fall from them. And also Wild were definitely the hardest team to predict, just because when you're rebuilding the entire team basically and picking up a completely new roster, you never know how it's going to go. And usually it's one of those things where it can go pretty well right away, or they can just be bad for a while until things start clicking. And fortunately for Wild, they started off playing quite well. They gave BDS a very good run for their money in the very first game of the stage. And they had it was good to see them play and not be ass, because I thought, and many other people thought as well, that Wild would just be the laughing stock of the league. So it was good to see that they weren't. So this is how the playoffs rounded out. Our top 6 teams that made it to the playoffs, where we had BDS, Secret, and then probably the biggest surprise here, which was Virtus Pro qualifying to the major. I think a lot of people counted them out. I was one of those people who's always I don't ever like to count VP out, just because, like, yeah, their online play has never been like stellar by any means, but if they can, they've always been good enough. And honestly, pretty big blunder from Wolves in these playoffs too, where they went from one round to make to off of making the major to down to the last chance qualifier. So now if we go to the final standings after, and this is after playoffs ended. This does not include last chance qualifiers. So BDS, Secret, VP get first, second, third, and then Wolves, G2, and Wild all go down to the LCQ, and then ITB, Ensign, Fnatic all were put in to the LCQ qualifiers. And then we make it to the LCQ. All the T1 teams ended up playing in the LCQ, where G2 ended up coming out on top, and a big blunder from Wolves. They went from one round off of getting the major to first rounded in the LCQ by Ents. So I remember as soon as I saw Wolves get eliminated by Ents in the first round, I was like, well, this is I knew if G2 could beat ITB, then it would basically just be another G2 LCQ sweep again, which it was. So yeah. So our 4 teams attending the Montreal Major in November is going to be BDS, Secret, Virtus Pro, and then G2. Now I have a couple other things that I did just kind of for entertainment factors, but also I think it makes just talking about the esport more interesting. So I kind of did my own for each EU, NA, Brazil. I did like team awards, and I did player awards, and then I also did like a team of the stage. So, and then I have like an explanation for why I did each of those. So our most surprising team for me was Wild, because as I said myself, I didn't expect them to be good at all, and they weren't bad. Um, and then for most overrated team, I rated ITB in second place, and they were very bad. Um, what they get? They got seventh, yeah, and then they lost to G2 in the LCQ. So yeah, not very good showing from ITB. And then worst roster changes. I mean, it has to go to Fnatic, um, literally because I mean they picked up Kanto to entry frag, and I think he was like the worst rated player on the team. And then they picked up Sarks, and I don't. It was he had some okay moments in some games, but like it didn't. He wasn't like crazy standout player. And of course they let go of Jigsaw, who went on to qualify to the major with Chiefs back in the Oceania League. So not looking good for Fnatic. Most underrated team for me was Secret, even though I put them in third and with the possibility of them um, being second over ITB in my early predictions. Um, I still have them as an underrated team because I don't know. Secret's just one of those teams that I always just like. I've been underrating them for like the whole year, um, except for Joom, the himself. Like I know the players they have are good, but for some reason, I just keep on thinking that they'll just be mid, and that's probably just because of I'm just so used to the old Team Secret still just being mid, but this Team Secret this year is certainly far beyond mid. They were one round off of taking first place to the stage versus BDS. So I I cannot keep underrating Secret anymore. It has gotten to the point of disrespect. Even though I don't like hate anyone on the team or anything or dislike anyone, it's just like I don't know. I do have. I guess I have some biases or something. Um, for my clutch team of the stage, I mean, it had to go to G2. The amount of clutches they had, especially in the LCQ, to get to Montreal was just ridiculous. So that's going to G2. Um, and then the best roster changes, I'm also given to Wild. Um, because I mean, Wild went from the worst team in the league to a competitive team that can pretty much throw hands with any team in the league. Um, they're not like the best team or anything yet, but they are, like I said earlier, much better than pretty much everyone could predict. So, yeah. Okay, so now for my player awards. For my MVP of the stage, I gave it to Usus. I mean, highest rated player on the best team. So it could have gone to Shaiko too. Him and Shaiko had like the same rating. So basically, so but I want to give it to Usus, because he's just been cooking even more than Shaiko I arguably has. So now for the most improved player, and this is not like most improved because they've been bad for a while now or anything. Um, but this is just like based off of last stage. So I looked at how every player did last stage, and then looked at how every player did this stage, and then base it off that. And I gave it to Pasha because he had a pretty rough stage with Virtus Pro last stage, and Virtus Pro also didn't qualify to the stage, but Pasha was like carrying them through playoffs. He was like single handedly bringing Virtus Pro almost through those playoffs to the major, and he was the highest rated player on Virtus Pro this stage, and one of the highest rated players in the league as well this stage. So I just had to give most improved to Pasha. Um, Clutch player of the stage, I'm gonna give it to Leighton. Every WoW game I watch, every time I felt like every time Leighton was in like a 1v1, a 1v2, a 1v3, it just felt like every time Leighton would win it. I don't know why, but it just seemed every time Leighton was just left in the clutch, he would always win it. Um, so yeah. Now for best rookie, I gave it to Croxon. Um, he was he was the highest rated player on Wild this stage, and also the highest rated rookie this stage. So I feel like it was just a given to Croxon. The most underrated player is Dodo. Um, I don't know. every time I watch Wild again, it's just like it's just like it always feels like Dodo's making like the right plays for the team, and he's not on like a super flashy role, and he doesn't have like crazy mechanics or anything, but he just is always doing the right thing for his team. It feels, and he's just always setting his team up for success. And I feel like he was definitely just one of the better highlights of Wild's season again. Now, for overrated players, I hate to do it to Kanto, but I mean, he was picked up to entry frag for Fnatic and was the worst weighted player on the team. So, you know, and then I had to put Mowgli under overrated to this stage because Mowgli is a player that I always expect to be like, getting a ton of kills, and then everybody's used to him just like carrying wolves to every event basically. But this stage he played fine, but like you need more out of him, especially if wolves are looking to make the majors and SI still, which is looking pretty unlikely at this rate because wolves didn't make either of the majors this year, so their only chance is the last chance qualifier now. So yeah, pretty mediocre stage from Mowgli. Very bad stage from Kanto, but I feel like I had to put overrated on Mowgli this stage too. Also to just push him to be better because he needs to be. I mean, they both need to be better, but like Kanto, I kind of I don't want him to be the lowest rated player on our team. But honestly, I was kind of expecting it to happen, just because of the way he's played the past few times, few stages. But Mowgli is just one of those players that I expect to be like at least farming the bad teams. Um, but going out to Ents 2-0 in the LCQ is just not it after being one round off of making the major. So now for my all European pro team, I had to put Usus and Shaiko, of course, from BDS, two highest rated players on the best team. Um, I had to give Alamau a shout. I feel like Alamau is always been good like every stage in EUL. I feel like Alamau's never really had a bad stage, but this stage was definitely one of his like better ones. He was very clutch for D2 in the LCQ, and he was just always making the plays and playing pretty much any operator the team needs to. So while IGLing as well, I believe Alamau still IGLs. That so I to my knowledge, G2's IGL has not changed. So I believe it is still Alamau. Um, and then for my fourth player, I picked Pasha again for the same reasons I basically put him as most improved. He basically like dragged Virtus Pro through the playoffs to make the major. Um, didn't completely drag Virtus Pro through the playoffs, but certainly a much higher rating than the rest of his team. So, and then for my fifth player on the team was Juma, highest rated player on Secret, and then Secret are definitely are like the solidified second best team in EU, right behind BDS. As I said earlier, one round off of being first place in EU instead of BDS. So yeah, this is it for Europe. I think the next upload after this will probably be NA, and then I'm gonna do Brazil after. So yeah, if you enjoyed, feel free to let me know again, and if there's also any like criticisms or other things you would like to see me doing these videos, also feel free to let me know. And yeah, have a good one.